I stand in the doorway of my parents' suburban home, a ghost at my own family gathering. Through the arched entryway, crystal glasses catch the light as they rise in unison. The bubbling champagne, the expensive kind Mom only brings out for special occasions, sparkles under the dining room chandelier. "To Evan," Dad announces, his voice carrying the pride he reserves exclusively for his son. Summa cum laude, and ready to take on the world. 20 faces beam toward my younger brother, who accepts their adoration with practiced humility. At 25, Evan has mastered the art of appearing both deserving and humble about the constant attention our parents shower upon him. I shift my weight, the floorboard creaking beneath me. No one turns. The bookstore logo on my uniform peeks from beneath my jacket, the nicest one I own, and suddenly I'm conscious of how out of place I look. Everyone else wears cocktail attire while I stand here in sensible shoes and the khaki pants I've worn through an 8-hour shift. Dad reaches into his pocket and pulls out a small box wrapped in silver paper. "One more thing, son." Evan tears into it with boyish enthusiasm, and when he lifts the lid, his eyes widen. He pulls out a key fob with a familiar luxury car emblem. "No way." He looks from the keys to our father, mouth open. "You didn't." "It's parked in the driveway," Dad says, clapping him on the shoulder. "You can't show up to interviews in that old clunker anymore." The crowd moves as one toward the front windows, exclaiming over the brand new black SUV parked proudly in the circular drive. I press myself against the wall to avoid being trampled, clutching the small package wrapped in bookstore paper. The book inside, a first edition of Evan's favorite childhood novel, cost 3 days' worth of tips. When the crowd disperses back to their drinks, I finally step into the light. Mom notices me first, her smile faltering before regaining its hostess brightness. "Oh, Kara, when did you get here?" She air kisses near my cheek, careful not to smudge her lipstick. "Everyone, this is our daughter. She works at..." "Where is it again, dear?" "Cornerstone Books." I answer, "the same place I've worked for the past 4 years. Dad looks me up and down, his eyes lingering on my uniform pants. "Couldn't you have dressed up a bit? It's your brother's graduation party." The weight of his disappointment is familiar. I swallow the explanation that I came straight from work, that I rearranged 3 shifts to be here at all. "Sorry," I say instead, the word automatic after 29 years of practice. I approach Evan and hold out my gift. "Congratulations." He takes it, giving the bookstore wrapping paper a quick glance before tossing it onto the growing pile of presents. "Thanks, sis." He turns to the man beside him. "This is Professor Harrington from the business department." The professor nods politely before Evan steers the conversation back to himself. "I was just telling him about my internship prospects." "At least someone has to work in this family," Evan adds with a laugh, gesturing to my uniform. The guests chuckle, and something inside me cracks. In that moment, I see it all with perfect clarity. The pattern stretches back through the years. My high school graduation, where they arrived an hour late because Evan had a baseball game. My 18th birthday, when I received secondhand luggage while Evan got the latest gaming system. The day my college acceptance letter arrived and Dad asked, "How will you pay for that?" While Mom reminded me how expensive Evan's future education would be. I've never been the child they wanted to show off. I step back, suddenly needing air. The memories keep coming. Working 40 hours a week at the bookstore, adding 15 more at Cafe Luna to make rent on my studio apartment where the bathroom sink doubles as my kitchen sink. Taking online business courses at midnight after double shifts. The small jar on my dresser labeled "Someday," where every extra dollar goes. I slip away from the celebration unnoticed. In the kitchen, I pour myself a glass of water, my hands trembling with exhaustion. The party sounds distant now. "Excuse me," a voice breaks through my thoughts. I turn to find an older man with salt and pepper hair and familiar eyes watching me. He gestures to my name tag, still pinned to my shirt. "You work at Cornerstone Books?" "Yes," I answer, wondering if he's another of Dad's business associates I should recognize. He studies me for a long moment. "You're Robert Matthews' daughter, aren't you?" Something in his expression makes me look closer. The shape of his jaw, the way he stands it, hits me suddenly. "Uncle Ben?" The name feels strange on my tongue. Dad's estranged brother, unseen at family gatherings for as long as I can remember. He nods, a small smile crossing his face. The black sheep himself. What are you doing here? I ask, glancing toward the living room where Dad holds court. Evan invited me. He leans against the counter. I was surprised to get the invitation, even more surprised to accept it. Before I can respond, he asks a question that stops me cold. Tell me, Kara, what are you working toward? No one has asked me that in years. Once the dinner was over, I went home quietly, and no one noticed. But I will make new plans with my Uncle Ben tomorrow, and my family does not know about it. The next day, the corner table at Café Luna sits tucked away from the evening rush, illuminated by a vintage lamp with a cracked amber shade. Uncle Ben checks his watch, a practical timepiece with a worn leather band, not the status symbols my father collects. Thank you for meeting me after your shift, he says. I rub my palm against my uniform pants, aware of the coffee stains I couldn't scrub out. I was surprised by your invitation. More surprised than seeing me at your brother's party? Touché, I smile despite myself. There's something disarming about his directness. Ben takes a sip of black coffee, studying me over the rim. You never answered my question. What are you working toward, Kara? The question hangs between us. People rarely ask about my ambitions. They ask if I can cover an extra shift or where we keep the romance novels. Business management? I admit finally, the words feeling foreign on my tongue. I've been taking online courses for 3 years, 18 credits to go. His eyebrows lift slightly. Why business? Because it's practical. Businesses need managers, and managers make decent money. I pause, weighing how much to reveal. And I like creating systems that work, making order from chaos. Ben nods, his expression neutral yet attentive in a way that makes me continue. My father thinks I lack ambition. The words slip out before I can stop them. Robert always had a narrow definition of success. Ben sets down his mug with purpose. Did you know I'm CEO of Sterling & Company? The name registers immediately. The operations consulting firm? The very one. 23 years building it from nothing. Pride edges his voice, not boastful but matter of fact. Your father never forgave me for not following the family plan. Which was? Join his insurance business, sell policies to people who don't need them, play golf on Wednesdays. Ben shrugs. I had different ideas. The parallels to my own situation sit heavy between us. My phone buzzes the manager from the bookstore asking if I can open tomorrow. I type a quick affirmative response. I noticed something about you today, Ben says suddenly. During the lunch rush. I look up, puzzled. The counter was chaotic, line out the door. 2 people called in sick. But you had a system. He leans forward. Orders to the left, money in the center, completed tickets to the right. You reset your station after every 3rd customer. My cheeks warm with surprise. No one notices things like that. How do you track multiple orders during peak times, he asks. I use color coding, I explain, my voice gaining confidence. Blue pens for coffee drinks, black for food, red for modifications. I write customer initials in the corners of cups. And I keep the register tape running as backup for disputed orders. Ben listens intently, nodding at certain points. When I finish, he pulls out a business card from his wallet, slides it across the table. Sterling & Company has an entry-level operations internship opening next month, he says. Pays $22 an hour, regular business hours with potential for advancement. The card's embossed lettering catches the lamplight. My heart hammers against my ribs. $22 an hour is nearly double what I make at the bookstore. Is this charity because you feel sorry for me? The question comes sharper than intended. Ben's face hardens. This is business. I recognize potential when I see it. I've never worked in an office environment, I counter, anxiety rising. My resume is just retail and food service. You've maintained 2 jobs while pursuing a degree. You've created efficient systems without formal training. You've survived your family. He counts these off on his fingers. Those are transferable skills. My mind races through calculations. 2 weeks' notice at both jobs. New clothes. Transportation costs. The terrifying possibility of failure. It's risky, I murmur. Ben regards me steadily. Your father chose security. I chose possibility. He stands, dropping cash on the table for both our coffees. The application deadline is Friday. Think about it. After he leaves, I sit alone, turning his card over in my fingers. The possibility feels both exhilarating and terrifying. Back in my studio apartment later that day, I stare at my someday jar, quarters and dollars accumulating with glacial slowness. At this rate, I'll have enough for a business wardrobe in approximately never. I spread my resume across the beta single page that looks impossibly thin. Assistant manager at Cornerstone Books, barista at Cafe Luna, online coursework in business administration, no prestigious internships. No impressive extracurriculars. Nothing that would catch anyone's attention except someone who already knew me. My phone sits heavy in my hand as I dial the bookstore's number. Margaret answers on the third ring. Hi, it's Kara. I need to give my 2 weeks' notice. There's a pause on the other end. Is everything okay? Yes, I say, the word unfamiliar but true. I've been offered an internship. After similar calls to the cafe and updates to my resume, I sit cross-legged on my bed, staring at the completed application on my laptop screen. The cursor blinks over the send button, a steady pulse like a heartbeat. I think of all the times I've played it safe, all the times I've chosen security over possibility. I click send. This time will be different, I whisper to the empty room. The next morning, I stand in Goodwill's business section, fingering the sleeve of a charcoal blazer. The price tag reads $12.99. I add it to my growing pilotwo blouses, a pencil skirt, dress pants. No navy blue anywhere, a color my mother always said washed me out. That night, I prop my phone against the bathroom mirror, following a YouTube tutorial on professional hairstyles, fingers tangling in my own hair as I attempt a French twist. My name is Kara Matthews. I practice to my reflection. I'm the new operations intern. The words sound false, like I'm playing dress-up. I try again, shoulders back. Kara Matthews. Operations. By the time I crawl into bed, the ceiling seems to pulse with my anxiety. Sleep eludes me as I rehearse answers to imaginary interview questions. What if everyone sees through me immediately? What if I'm the joke of the office? At 2:18 a.m., my phone illuminates with a text from a number I don't recognize. Nervous is good, it means you care. See you on Monday, Ben. I press the phone to my chest, breathe deeply, and close my eyes. For the first time in years, exhaustion isn't what pulls me towards sleep, it's possibility. On Monday, the Sterling and Company building stands 42 stories high, a monument of glass and steel that seems to pierce the clouds. I grip my second-hand briefcase tighter, its worn leather soft against my palm. The revolving door spins ahead, disgorging men and women in tailored suits who move with purpose and confidence. I check my watch, 7:25 a.m., 35 minutes early. Just another workplace, I whisper to myself, but the words ring hollow. Inside, the marble lobby gleams under recessed lighting. A security guard checks my ID, hands me a visitor badge, and points me toward a bank of elevators. Floor 28, he says. Operations. The elevator is crowded with people who smell of expensive cologne and coffee. I press myself into the corner, conscious of my department store blazer and the small scuff on my right shoe I couldn't buff out. First day? I turn to find a woman in her 50s beside me, her silver-streaked hair cut in a precise bob. Her eyes, sharp behind tortoiseshell glasses, take my measure. Yes, I manage. Operations internship. Diane Keller, operations manager. She doesn't offer her hand, just a slight nod. You're early. I wanted to get situated before orientation. Something flickers across her face, approval perhaps. You're Kara Matthews, Ben's niece. My stomach tightens. Of course everyone knows. Yes, but... Be in my office at 11:15. After orientation. The elevator stops and she steps out. Don't be late. The intern orientation passes in a blur of corporate jargon and paperwork. 8 of us sit in a conference room while Human Resources explains benefits we don't qualify for, and a company history I've already memorized. I take notes anyway, my hand cramping around my pen. The other interns exchange stories during a coffee break. Harvard, Stanford, Wharton. Their voices overlap as they discover mutual connections and summer homes. The confident handshakes, the casual mentions of family businesses. I stand apart, clutching a paper cup of mediocre coffee, suddenly aware that my online business courses might as well be from another planet. Matthews? A thin man with wire-rimmed glasses consults his clipboard. Diane's waiting. I follow him through a maze of cubicles to a glass-walled office where Diane sits reviewing documents. She gestures to a chair without looking up. Your first assignment. She slides a folder across her desk. Client database needs organization. Previous interns found it challenging. I open the folder to find hundreds of client records, some dating back 15 years. Handwritten notes crowd the margins, spreadsheets with inconsistent column headers. A mess of information with no apparent system. By when? I ask, already calculating hours. Friday. She finally looks up. Questions? 100 spring to mind. I swallow them all. No. Good. Desk 6 is yours. I find my assigned space, a beige cubicle with an outdated computer and empty bulletin board. 2 other interns occupy nearby desks, their spaces already personalized with photos and plants. They glance up as I sit, their eyes traveling from my face to my clothes and back again. Uncle Ben's project, right? The blonde one asks, her smile not reaching her eyes. Heat climbs my neck. I'm Kara. Madison. She turns back to her computer. Good luck with that database. It's where they send interns to fail. I spend the morning trying to make sense of the client records. Columns don't match across years. Contact information is scattered through notes. By lunch, my eyes burn from squinting at faded entries. The cafeteria buzzes with conversation and the clink of silverware. I scan the crowded tables, searching for an empty seat, when the weight of eyes turns my way. Whispers. A laugh. I retreat to the women's bathroom, lock myself in a stall, and press my forehead against the cool metal partition. My heart hammers against my ribs. What was I thinking? I don't belong here. Not with my discount store clothes and community college credits. Breathe. I order myself. Just breathe. 5 minutes. That's all I allow for panic. Then I straighten my blazer, splash water on my face, and return to my desk with a sandwich from the vending machine. The client records stare back at me, chaos in paper form. And then, I see it, the pattern hidden in the disorder. It reminds me of the cafe during morning rush. Dozens of orders, different preparations, various timing requirements. I created a system there, color-coded tickets and station arrangements that doubled our output. I pull a legal pad toward me and begin sketching a framework. Categories emerge, timelines, service patterns. I start creating a new spreadsheet, my fingers flying across the keyboard as the hours slip by. The office empties. 5 o'clock. 6. The cleaning crew arrives, vacuuming around my feet. My phone buzzes with a text from Uncle Ben. How was day 1? I don't answer. Can't break the flow now. By 9:30 p.m., my eyes blur with fatigue, but the system takes shape. Client interactions sorted by frequency and value. Complaint patterns identified by service type. Opportunity gaps highlighted by industry sector. When I finally leave, the security guard looks up in surprise. Working late on your first day? That's dedication. At home an hour later, I collapse into bed without removing my makeup. Sleep comes instantly. Morning arrives too soon. I jolt awake to my alarm, disoriented in the gray dawn. My phone screen shows a new email, received at 11:43 p.m. From diane.keller@sterling.com. Subject: See me in my office. My stomach drops. Did I miss something? Make an error? I shower and dress in a rush, arriving at the office by 8:15. Diane is already at her desk, coffee in hand. Matthews. She motions me inside. Sit. I perch on the edge of the chair, hands folded to hide their trembling. Security says you left after 10 p.m. I was working on the client database. Show me. I log into my computer as she stands behind me, her presence a weight on my shoulders. The spreadsheet opens, revealing my color-coded system, cross-references, and analytical charts. Diane is silent for a long moment. What's this section? She points to a highlighted column. Pattern recognition. Clients who reduced services after specific types of complaints. If you look at the timing, my finger traces across the screen. You can see most left within 3 months of an unresolved issue in the same category. She stares at the screen, then at me. You found this pattern in one day? It reminded me of tracking customer returns at the bookstore. Similar patterns, different context. Diane straightens, arms crossed. The Miller meeting is at 10. They're having retention issues. I saw that in their file. You'll sit in. Take notes. Don't speak unless spoken to. I blink. You want me in a client meeting? This, she taps the screen, might be useful. As she walks away, Madison passes my desk, coffee in hand. She glances at my screen, then at Diane's retreating form. Beginner's luck, she murmurs, just loud enough for me to hear. I watch her go, then turn back to my computer. The system I created glows on the screen. Order wrestled from chaos. My system, my work. I reach for a sticky note, write 3 words, and press it to the edge of my monitor where only I can see it. I belong here, it reads. And for the first time, I almost believe it. In 3 months, I will have an even stronger feeling of belonging. At the present, I stare at the notification lighting up my phone screen, thumb hovering over my mother's name. Linda Matthews sent you a message. The words pulse accusingly against the background of dozens of other LinkedIn notifications that have flooded my account since yesterday. 6 months at Sterling & Company, a lifetime away from bookstore name tags and cafe aprons. My company profile update yesterday celebrating my 100th day as operations analysts innocently above the company's featured post, the one where Mr./Prosided Plations on the Menalist 70 Satter /Plus. Williams from marketing highlighted my client tracking system as revolutionary for our workflow efficiency. The photo shows me beside Uncle Ben at the quarterly recognition dinner, both of us smiling. Both Matthews, the connection unmistakable. 17 connection requests, 23 congratulatory messages, and 3 missed calls from my father within the last hour. I tap my mother's message open. Sweetheart, we've always been so proud of you. Would love to hear all about your new position. It's been too long since we've seen you. The words blur slightly. We've always been so proud. The lie sits there, polished to a high shine, as if repeating it enough times might make it true. My phone buzzes with a text from Evan. Hey sis, congrats on the new gig. Let's catch up. I set the phone face down on my desk. Through my office window, the downtown skyline stretches toward a cloudless sky. My reflection in the glass looks different than it did 6 months ago, shoulders back. Hairstyled, tailored blazer instead of a uniform with someone else's logo. When my phone vibrates again, I already know who it is. We're having Sunday dinner at the house this weekend. Your mother's making pot roast. We'd love to see you there. My father, not asking if I'm free, assuming I'll come running at his summons like I always have. I consider the invitation, rolling it over in my mind like a stone. 6 months of silence while I worked 14-hour days learning systems and software. 6 months without a single call while I moved into my new apartment. 6 months where my family was Diane, who mentored me through every challenge, and the team that gradually accepted me despite my untraditional background. Now, suddenly, I exist again. I type a careful response. Thank you. I'll check my schedule. On Sunday that week, my parents' house looks smaller than I remember. The hedges need trimming. The brass knocker needs polishing. Details I wouldn't have noticed before Sterling & Company taught me to observe systems with a critical eye. Mother opens the door before I can knock, her smile stretched wide. Kara, look at you! She steps back, examining my simple dress and low heels. So professional. The house smells of pot roast and freshly baked rolls, the special occasion menu she never made when I visited during my bookstore days. In the dining room, crystal glasses sparkle beneath the chandelier. The good china gleams on placemats I've never seen before. My father rises from his chair, adjusting his tie. There she is, he says, as if we've been separated by circumstance rather than choice. Our corporate success story. My brother lounges against the sideboard, scrolling through his phone. He glances up, flashing the same practice smile he used at his graduation party. The prodigal sister returns. Hardly prodigal, I say, setting my purse on the entryway table. I've been working. Mother bustles to the kitchen, calling over her shoulder. Robert, pour Kara some wine, the Cabernet we've been saving. The wine they've been saving. For what occasion, I wonder? My promotion? Or the moment they realized I might be useful? Dinner progresses through carefully choreographed pleasantries. Mother asks surface questions about my apartment. Father inquires about Sterling and Company's client base, his interest suddenly awakened. Neither mentions the 6 months of silence. Kara, my father says as mother serves dessert, your brother has been developing a student finance app. Very innovative, perfect for today's college market. Evan leans forward, eager. It helps students track expenses, financial aid, scholarship applications. I've been working on it for months. I nod, taking a small bite of apple crisp. Sounds interesting. The thing is, Father continues, setting down his fork with deliberate care, he needs some guidance on the business side, someone with connections in the industry. Mother places a family photo album on the table, flipping it open. We were just looking at these old pictures yesterday. Remember Evan's science fair project in 10th grade? First place. The album is filled with Evan's achievements, football trophies, academic awards, graduation photos, not a single image of my community college ceremony where I sat alone in a sea of strangers. I couldn't find your graduation photos, Mother says, noticing my expression. You were always so independent. I guess we didn't take many. Maybe, Evan interjects, sliding his phone toward me. You could introduce me to Uncle Ben? Just a casual meetup. I'd love his perspective on my app. The real agenda surfaces, finally breaking through the thin veneer of family concern. Not my life, not my achievements, not even genuine reconciliation. Just access. To Ben, to Sterling and Company, to the connections they believe I can provide. I set my fork down carefully, folding my napkin with precision. The movements center me, reminiscent of how I organize my workspace before tackling complex problems. It's interesting to hear from everyone after so long, I say, my voice quiet but firm. Father shifts uncomfortably in his chair, recognizing the directness in my gazia look I never dared give him before. I don't mix family and business, I say, standing smoothly. Thank you for dinner. I have an early meeting tomorrow. The silence stretches between us, taut and revealing. For the first time in 29 years, I'm not the one who looks away first. Next week at the office, my phone buzzes for the 3rd time this morning. Evan's name flashes on the screen, accompanied by the same message as yesterday and the day before. Just need 10 mins with Uncle Ben, that's all I'm asking. I slide the phone face down on my desk at Sterling and Company and return to the quarterly reports. The numbers swim before my eyes as another notification pinks a voicemail from Mom this time. I wait until lunch to listen. Kara, honey, family supports each other, that's what we've always done. Her voice carries that familiar guilt-inducing tone. Your brother has worked so hard on this app idea. The least you could do is make an introduction. The least I could do, as if I owe them something after years of being overlooked. I delete the voicemail and unwrap my sandwich when Diane knocks on my office doorframe. Someone's been calling for you at the front desk. She leans against the door, her silver-framed glasses catching the light. Claims to be your father. 3rd time this week. A knot forms in my stomach. Did he leave a message? Just that it's family business. She makes air quotes with her fingers. Should I tell reception to block him? I take a deep breath. No, I'll handle it. After she leaves, I send a message to my father that I have a meeting and tell him to go back home. As I open my email, I find exactly what I expected. Evan has forwarded his business plan with a note. Can you send this to Uncle Ben? Dad says you should add a personal recommendation. Dad says, of course. The final straw arrives in the afternoon mail-in embossed invitation to Evan's birthday celebration. At the bottom, in Mom's handwriting, Uncle Ben welcome too. I crumple the invitation and toss it toward the trash. It bounces off the rim and lands on the floor, mocking me. The day has passed in meetings and team building, so I finally went home at night. They've never once asked how I'm doing at work. I tell Diane over coffee the next morning. We sit in the small cafe across from the office, early enough that the morning rush hasn't started. Not once, but suddenly they're interested in every detail of my relationship with Ben. Diane stirs her coffee slowly. At 56, she carries herself with the confidence of someone who stopped apologizing for taking up space decades ago. My brother tried something similar when I made partner at my old firm, she says. Suddenly wanted me to review his contracts, introduce him to clients. What did you do? I told him my professional relationships weren't family assets. She takes a sip. He didn't speak to me for a year. And now? Now he respects my boundaries. She shrugs. Sometimes family needs to learn you're not the same person they decided you were when you were 12. Later that afternoon, I knock on Ben's office door. He waves me in without looking up from his computer. The Westlake proposal looks good, he says. But their timeline is, he glances up. This isn't about Westlake, is it? I shake my head. My family. He sighs, removes his reading glasses. They've contacted me directly, you know. Your father called yesterday. Evan sent a LinkedIn request. I'm sorry, I start, but he holds up a hand. Don't apologize for them, not your job. He studies me for a moment. What do you need from me? The question catches me off guard. No one in my family has ever asked me that. I need to know how to handle this without burning bridges I might want to cross someday. Ben nods. Boundaries aren't walls, Kara. They're property lines. They show where you end and others begin. By the time I return to my desk, I've made a decision. That evening, Sarah from accounting shares her story of keeping her marriage separate from her family business. The next day, Jason from IT describes establishing professional boundaries with his well-connected cousin. I'm building a different kind of family here, I realize, one based on mutual respect rather than obligation. That same day, the email takes me 3 hours to write, though it's only 4 paragraphs long. I read it aloud to make sure every word carries exactly the weight I intend. I've noticed the sudden interest in my professional life coincides with discovering my connection to Uncle Ben. While I understand Evan is excited about his app idea, I need to be clear. I will not use my professional relationships as family currency. I've spent months building my reputation at Sterling and Company through hard work and dedication. That reputation is not something I'm willing to compromise. If we want to rebuild our family relationships, I suggest starting with getting to know each other as we are now, not as you need me to be. Perhaps Sunday dinners without business discussions would be a place to begin. Respect is earned in both directions. I'm willing to work on our relationship, but not at the expense of my professional integrity. I hit send before I can second-guess myself. On the evening of Evan's birthday celebration, I sit across from Uncle Ben at Lorenzo's, his favorite Italian restaurant downtown. Your father will be furious, Ben says, twirling pasta around his fork. I sent a gift. I take a sip of water. They'll survive without me. You know, your father and I stopped speaking because I wouldn't give him money for a business he wasn't willing to work for. Ben sets down his fork. He wanted success handed to him. When I suggested he start smaller and build something himself, he accused me of betrayal. The parallel to my current situation with Evan is unmistakable. Is that why you gave me a chance? I ask. Because I remind you of yourself? Ben shakes his head. I gave you a chance because you're nothing like either of us. Robert wanted shortcuts. I was too stubborn to compromise. You just quietly built your own ladder while no one was watching. The next morning, I send Evan another birthday gift-a-book on entrepreneurship with a note. Success comes from hard work, not connections. That afternoon, I post photos of the mentoring session I've started for young professionals at Sterling and Company within hours. My phone lights up with a text from Mom. We miss you. I type back. I'm building my life now. Later, Dad's name appears on my ringing phone. I watch until it stops, the notification for a voicemail replacing it. We need to talk. For the first time, I don't feel compelled to answer immediately. My time, like my boundaries, has value, and I'm no longer willing to give either away for free. And in another 6 months, I'll be even stronger. I stand on my apartment balcony, watching the city lights flicker on as dusk settles. The contrast strikes me only a year ago. I would have been rushing between jobs, legs aching, counting tips in my head. Tonight, I breathe. Just breathe. Behind me, through the sliding glass door, my apartment spreads out in quiet testimony to what I've built. A real kitchen with actual counter space. An office nook where my business textbooks line a shelf, topped by the framed degree I completed 2 months ago. Business Administration. My name in official font. The someday jar sits on my coffee table, repurposed as a vase for fresh tulips that Sarah from accounting brought to my birthday dinner last night. 5 friends gathered around a restaurant table, laughing about office politics and raising glasses to celebrate not just my birthday but my recent promotion to senior analyst. My phone buzzes. A text from Dr. Winters confirming tomorrow's therapy appointment. 6 months of weekly sessions have helped me understand the family patterns that nearly crushed me. Family systems, she calls them. I call them survival lessons. Another message appears, Mom asking if Sunday coffee still works. Our monthly ritual now. She brings photos of their vacation or Dad's golf tournament. I share carefully selected stories from work. We orbit each other in this new galaxy, finding constellations that connect without colliding. Dad still struggles with the boundaries I've drawn. His Christmas card came with a brochure for a family financial advisor. His way of reaching out, I suppose. Progress measured in small gestures rather than grand apologies. Evan calls occasionally, asking about job search strategies. His app failed to launch. The SUV needed repairs he couldn't afford. Reality arrived for him later than most, but it arrived nonetheless. My phone rings. Diane. Just checking you're ready for tomorrow, she says without preamble. Presentations loaded, speech practiced, outfit chosen. I answer, ticking off my mental checklist. First speaking engagement. Nervous? I consider this. Prepared. She laughs. That's why you're my best analyst. Ben's coming, you know. Something warm spreads through my chest. Not the desperate need for approval that once drove me, but appreciation for the man who saw what no one else bothered to look for. After Diane hangs up, I rehearse once more how I'll describe resilience to a room full of business professionals tomorrow. How I'll tell them about the scholarship fund I started for working students, small now but growing. The young woman who approached me after last month's department meeting, eyes heavy with the same exhaustion I once carried, now scheduled for an informational interview next week. The cycle continues, but differently. My mother surprised me by attending the scholarship announcement ceremony. She sat in the back row, hands clasped tight around her purse. Afterward, she hugged me without air kisses. I'm trying to understand, she whispered. Not quite an apology, but perhaps the prelude to one. My phone buzzes once more. 2 messages. Diane. Committee approved your promotion recommendation. Operations manager position yours if you want it. Details tomorrow. Mom. Your father asking if you'd join us for dinner next Saturday. Just us. No expectations. I smile, realizing I can now choose both worlds on my own terms. The city lights below mirror the stars above, separate systems existing in the same sky. Tomorrow, I'll walk into Sterling & Company and see my new nameplate, Kara Matthews, Operations Manager. Uncle Ben will pass me in the hallway with that simple nod of respect he reserves for equals. I'll enter the conference room with steady steps, face a table of executives, and begin. Thank you all for coming. Let's talk about building something that lasts. Not just a career. A life. I grip my water glass so hard my fingers turn white, but I refuse to let my mother see how deeply her words cut. Amanda, you'll never be as good as your sister. The chandelier light catches in the crystal, sending prisms across the white tablecloth as silence crashes down on our family dinner. Sierra's promotion celebration dinner, the reason we're all gathered around my parents' mahogany table on a Wednesday night. The dinner I rushed to after a 10-hour workday, barely having time to change from my rumpled blouse to a fresh one. Mom, Sierra starts, but stops when our mother raises her hand. It's just fact, dear. Your sister chose stability over ambition. Nothing wrong with that, but we need to acknowledge reality. My father clears his throat, studying his plate of half-eaten salmon. Your mother's right, Amanda. Sierra's on track to make vice president before 30. Different paths. I look at Sierra in her crisp crimson dress, her hair perfectly styled even after a full day at the office. Then at our mother, wearing the pearl necklace I bought her last Christmas, the one she claimed was nice but not really my style, before wearing it to every one of Sierra's events. Something snaps inside me. 2 years of swallowed words rise in my throat. I stand, open my purse, and pull out the mortgage statement I'd been carrying for 3 days, waiting for the right moment. There is no right moment for this. I've been paying your bills for 2 years, I say, placing the paper on the table, including this house. My mother's eyes widen briefly before she composes herself. She waves her hand dismissively, the gesture so familiar it makes my stomach clench. That's what family does. Sierra needs to focus on her career. My mind flashes back to Sierra's college graduation 6 years ago. My parents presented her with keys to a brand new red Mazda, complete with a giant white bow on the hood. Later that afternoon, they handed me a gift bag containing a coffee mug printed with my alma mater's logo. "You're already established," Mom had explained when she caught my expression. "Your sister needs our support." Then came that first call 2 years ago. Dad's voice uncharacteristically hesitant, explaining a temporary financial setback. "Just one mortgage payment," they said. "Just until things stabilized." I touched the corner of the mortgage statement now spread on the table. 2 years of payments isn't temporary help anymore. Family supports each other, Mom says, her voice hardening. "Why are you being so selfish?" I reach into my bag again and pull out the stack of receipts I've been collecting. Bank statements, transfer confirmations, canceled checks. 2 years of financial drain organized in a neat accordion file. "I've supported plenty," I say, my voice steadier than my hands. "But I'm not your ATM." My father's face reddens. "Your sister's at a critical point in her career." "And I'm at a critical point in my patience," I reply, surprising myself with the steel in my voice. Sierra looks between us, confusion creasing her forehead. What's happening right now? No one answers her. My mother stares at me with narrowed eyes. My father studies the ceiling as if the answer might be written there. I stand in my parents' dining room, suddenly aware of what I'm risking. These are my only family connections, the people who raised me, the sister I helped with homework and drove to dance recitals. Yet looking at their faces, I see for the first time how they measure my worth, not in love or memories or shared blood, but in dollars I can provide while staying conveniently in the background. "I'll be taking a break from family dinners," I say, gathering my purse, "and family payments." My mother's face hardens into something I barely recognize. "You'll regret this, Amanda. Family is all we have in this world." I pause at the doorway, feeling a strange lightness. Then I guess I have nothing. A whole week passed after that dramatic dinner, and besides Sierra's rare messages, my parents did not contact me. However, on Thursday afternoon, my mother called me to help her organize her tax paperwork. "Since you're so good with numbers," a backhanded compliment that acknowledged my skill while dismissing my career. I never intended to find it, but as I sorted through the chaotic stack of documents on her desk, a familiar name caught my eye. Mine. I freeze. A student loan statement in my hand, not mine, but Sierra's plate. The words blur, then sharpen with horrifying clarity. A payment of $19,400 with a transfer confirmation bearing my account number. My fingers tremble as I flip through more pages. Car payments, credit card statements. My stomach twists into a knot so tight I can barely breathe. These weren't emergency payments. They weren't temporary help. This was systematic, planned, expected. I hear footsteps behind me and turn to see my mother in the doorway, her pearl necklace, my Christmas gift, gleaming against her crisp white blouse. "Did you find the mortgage interest forms?" she asks, then notices the papers in my hands. Something flickers across her face, not guilt, but annoyance at being discovered. "What is this? What is this?" My voice sounds distant, like it belongs to someone else. Dad appears behind her, his reading glasses perched on his forehead. Sierra stands in the hallway, thumbs tapping on her phone screen, barely glancing up. "Amanda, don't make a scene," Mom says, stepping into the office. Dad follows, both of them towering over me as I sit in the leather desk chair. The ledger lies open between us like a confession. "You used my money to pay Sierra's student loans." I tap the statement with my index finger. $19,400. Mom waves her hand dismissively. "You were helping the family. Sierra's loans were the most pressing need." "And her car payments?" I hold up another statement. $3,600 last year alone. "Transportation is essential for her position," Dad says, adjusting his glasses. "She meets with clients." "The credit cards?" I fan out the statements. $9,200 in designer clothes and restaurants." Professional appearance matters in marketing, Mom replies without hesitation. I look past them to Sierra, who finally pockets her phone with a shrug. I didn't ask for any of this. Mom said you were happy to help. The room suddenly feels too small, the walls closing in. 2 years of thinking I was helping with a temporary hardship, when all along I was funding Sierra's lifestyle. Sierra needs freedom to build her career. Dad says, his tone suggesting I should understand this obvious fact. You're stable. Stable, like a workhorse, reliable, boring, the practical daughter whose purpose is to support the star. I push back from the desk, needing space. My own student loans are still not paid off. I've been putting every extra dollar toward yours. That's different, Mom says. Your career choice doesn't require the same presentation. The unspoken comparison hangs in the air. Software engineering versus marketing, back office versus front-facing. Invisible versus celebrated. Do you have any idea what this is doing to my financial future? I ask, my voice stronger now. If I keep supporting everyone, I'll never have anything for myself. Mom blinks, genuinely confused by my concern. Family supports family, Amanda. We've always taught you that. Sierra's wedding is coming up, she continues, a new gleam in her eye. Of course you'll help with that too. She deserves the perfect day. The casual assumption knocks the wind from me. I grab the ledger, flipping to the last page where I've tracked every payment. The total glares back at me, $61,000. $61,000. 2 years of mortgage payments, student loans, car payments, credit cards. $61,000 spent supporting my family while they treated me as the less successful daughter. I closed the ledger with trembling hands. All this time, I'd been enabling their favoritism by financing it. Later that afternoon, I show the ledger to Diane, my colleague and the closest thing I have to a friend these days. We sit in a cafe, coffee growing cold between us as she examines the pages. This isn't normal family support, Amanda, she says finally, closing the book and sliding it back to me. This is exploitation. The word hits me like a physical blow. Exploitation. Not help, not family duty. A deliberate taking advantage. As I drive home that night, ledger copies tucked in my bag, I wrestle with an impossible choice. Should I cut off financial support immediately and force my family to face reality? Or gradually reduce payments to give them time to adjust? The first option might shatter relationships beyond repair, but the second meant more months of financial strain for me. What would you do when the people who should love you unconditionally only value what you can give them? Next Wednesday morning, at work, my phone buzzes with the 5th call from my cousin this week. My family will hold a family emergency meeting, yet I intend not to go. I silence the phone and slide it face down on my desk, watching the screen light up again almost immediately. The Morris family reunion is apparently all anyone can talk about. Are you avoiding someone? Diane asks from her cubicle, eyebrow raised. My mother organized a family reunion without telling me, I say, rubbing my temples. Now she wants me to fund it. Diane's eyes widen. The nerve after everything else they've taken. I nod, opening my email to find 3 messages from aunts and uncles I haven't spoken to in months. Each contains subtle variations of the same request. The family needs help. And apparently, I'm the designated helper. Did you know about the reunion? I ask Diane. No, but your sister's engagement is all over social media, she says, turning her monitor toward me. Your mother tagged everyone except you. Sierra's beaming face fills the screen, a diamond ring prominently displayed on her left hand. The caption reads, "Planning the celebration of the century for my beautiful daughter. Blessed." My stomach tightens when I see the first comment. Amanda will help make it perfect. I've become the family ATM, and now they're making promises on my behalf. Later that evening, I curl up on my couch with a cup of tea, scrolling through Facebook. My thumb freezes over a photo posted 5 weeks ago, my parents and Sierra posing in front of the Las Vegas sign, cocktails raised in celebration. The timestamp shows it was taken during the weekend. I worked overtime to cover an emergency property tax payment for their house. They went to Vegas with my money while telling me they couldn't make ends meet. In the days that follow, sleep becomes a luxury I can no longer afford. Night after night, I lie awake, calculating numbers, how much I've given, how much they've asked for, how much I have left. The weight of financial worry presses against my chest until breathing becomes difficult. During meetings at work, I catch myself drifting away, thinking about the second notice on my own student loan payment, while Sierra's loans are paid in full with my money. "You look exhausted," my boss commented one Thursday morning, after I missed a deadline for the first time in 3 years. "I'm fine," I lie, but the dark circles under my eyes tell the truth. I start keeping a journal every phone call, every request, every dollar transferred. The small leather-bound book becomes my constant companion. In its pages, I document the pattern of manipulation that has shaped our family dynamic for years. The casual mentions of Sierra's accomplishments, followed by requests for money, the guilt trips when I hesitate, the celebration dinners I pay for but am barely acknowledged at. The evidence builds page by page, an undeniable record of systematic exploitation. One Tuesday evening, as I am sorting out documents, "Amanda?" A familiar voice catches me off guard as I leave the office one evening. Uncle Frank stands by the elevator, his weathered face creased with concern. "Uncle Frank," I say, surprised, "what are you doing here?" "Looking for you," he says simply. "You've missed the last 3 family gatherings, not like you." I look down, unsure how to explain. "I always thought you were the backbone of this family," he continues, his voice gentle. "Now I'm wondering if they've been taking advantage of that strength." His words hit with unexpected force, and I blink back sudden tears. The following Saturday, I find myself in my parents' kitchen. Sierra sits at the counter flipping through bridal magazines while my mother circles venue options in red pen. "The country club deposit is due next week," my mother says without looking up. "Sierra deserves the perfect celebration. You can cover the venue deposit next week." Not a question. A statement. Something in me snaps a clean, decisive break. "I'm not paying another cent," I say, my voice steady, "for anything." The room goes silent. Sierra's head jerks up from her magazine. My mother freezes, pen hovering over the page. "Don't be ridiculous," she finally says, but uncertainty flickers across her face. "I'm serious," I continue, finding strange power in the stillness of my voice. "I've paid the mortgage, Sierra's loans, credit cards, car payments. I'm done." My mother's mouth opens and closes, fish-like, as she searches for the manipulative words that have always worked before. But for the first time, I see her tactics clearly: the guilt, the comparisons, the subtle insults wrapped in maternal concern. "I've been financing my own mistreatment. You can't just," she begins. "I can," I interrupt, "and I am." The next day, Diane spreads spreadsheets across her dining table, calculator in hand. "Without supporting them," she says, circling a number, "you could pay off your student loans in 3 years instead of 15. The figure stares back at me, a future I hadn't dared to imagine. Uncle Frank calls that evening. "I spoke with your mother," he says. "She's not happy." "I know." "Good," he responds firmly. "Sometimes family needs to learn hard lessons. I'm proud of you for setting boundaries." That night, I open my laptop and begin searching for job opportunities outside of Austin. Seattle catches my eye-tech jobs with higher salaries, a fresh start 3,000 miles from Texas. I allow myself to imagine a life built around my own needs and dreams instead of my family's demands. The next morning, I drive to the bank and request printouts of every transaction for the past 2 years. The clerk raises an eyebrow at the volume but complies. Hours later, I organize the stack of papers chronologically, highlighting each payment to my parents. Tucked among my father's financial documents, I discover a statement for an account I've never seen before. An account with a balance that contradicts every claim of hardship he's made. He's been hiding money while I've been draining my savings to support them. My phone rings just as I process this discovery. My mother's name flashes on the screen. "We're having an emergency family responsibility meeting tomorrow," she announces without greeting. "The mortgage payment didn't arrive." "I know," I say, feeling calmer than I have in years. "I told you I'm done paying." "This isn't a game, Amanda," she snaps. "Be here at 6. I hang up and look at the evidence spread across my table, proof of years of manipulation and exploitation. For the first time, I hold all the cards. "I'll be there," I whisper to myself, with receipts. On Tuesday evening after work, I arrive 15 minutes early for the family meeting, parking my Toyota 2 houses down from my parents' colonial-style home. The weight of the 3-inch black binder on my passenger seat represents 2 years of financial drainage, meticulously organized by category and date. Uncle Frank's advice echoes in my head when he called me this morning. Don't let them control the narrative. The familiar smell of lemon furniture polish hits me as I enter without knocking. In the dining room, my parents sit at opposite ends of the table like monarchs awaiting a subject. Sierra perches uncomfortably between them, scrolling through her phone. "You're early," Mom says, surprised briefly, crossing her face before she composes herself. I place the binder in the center of the table, the soft thud drawing everyone's attention. I wanted to make sure we had enough time. Dad shifts in his chair. Time for what exactly? I open the binder to the first tab labeled Mortgage. The pages inside contain highlighted bank statements, transfer confirmations, and a running total. Time to go through everything I've paid for over the past 2 years. My voice sounds different, controlled, businesslike. Let's start with the mortgage. 24 payments at $1,200 each. That's $28,800. Mom's eyebrows shoot up. That can't possibly be right. I flip to the next section. Student loans. Sierra's, not mine. $19,400. Dad's face pales as he glances toward the binder. His fingers drum against the polished mahogany. Car payments for Sierra's Mazda. $3,600. I turn another page. And finally, credit card bills, mostly for clothing, restaurants, and Sierra's work trips. $9,200. Sierra's phone slips from her hand, clattering against the table. That's more than I make in 3 months. The grand total, I say, turning to the summary page with the figure highlighted in yellow, is $61,000. Mom's lips press into a thin line. You're exaggerating. Half those payments were gifts. You offered to help. I have proof for every dollar. I pull out a manila folder containing copies of every check, every transfer receipt. The stack lands with a satisfying thickness beside the binder. Would you like to go through them one by one? This is ridiculous, Dad mutters, but his eyes avoid mine. Sierra reaches for the folder, paging through the evidence with trembling fingers. Her usual confidence evaporates as she stops at a credit card statement, showing charges for her interview suits. I had no idea, she whispers. Mom said you were happy to help, Sierra continues, looking up with confusion clouding her eyes. She said you wanted to contribute because you had extra money with your tech salary. Extra money? My laugh comes out harder than intended. I still have my own student loans to pay off. I've been putting off dental work because I couldn't afford it. There was never extra money. When Sierra asks me why I never told her how much I was contributing, I hesitate. Should I explain that our parents had sworn me to secrecy to protect her confidence, or was it better to let her discover their manipulation on her own? Before I can decide, the doorbell rings. Perfect timing. Mom rises, smoothing her cardigan. We're in the middle of something. That would be Uncle Frank, I say. I asked him to join us. Dad's head snaps up. Frank? Why would you? Uncle Frank's voice booms from the entryway as he lets himself in. Hello, everyone. Hope I'm not late. My mother's face tightens as her brother settles into a chair beside me. He nods toward the binder. I see Amanda's showing you the numbers. You knew about this? Mom asks, betrayal in her voice. I suspected, Uncle Frank says, his normally jovial tone serious. Family helps each other in emergencies, not as a permanent arrangement. What you've been doing to Amanda isn't right, Elaine. The silence that follows feels like a physical presence in the room. My mother stares at her brother, then at me, realizing that her carefully constructed narrative is crumbling. I am no longer isolated. Sierra breaks the quiet. Jenna asked me yesterday why Amanda never comes to family events anymore. She seemed concerned, like she knew something was wrong. Your friends don't understand our family dynamics, Mom says dismissively, but uncertainty creeps into her voice. The Hendersons called last week, Uncle Frank adds. They wanted to know if there was any truth to the rumor that you two were having money troubles while spending on luxury items. Dad's face reddens. That's none of their business. The dining room falls silent again until Sierra's phone pings with an incoming message. She glances at it, then looks up with widened eyes. It's from the mortgage company, she says, turning to our parents. They're sending a late notice. In that moment, watching my father's shoulders slump and my mother's mask slip, I realize the first cracks in their carefully maintained facade have appeared. The financial house of cards they've built is beginning to collapse, and for the first time, I'm not rushing to prop it up. 2 days later, I sit across from my parents at their kitchen table, where the light catches dust particles floating between us. The space feels different now, smaller, less intimidating. My father's smile looks strained as he slides a paper toward me. Amanda, we've been thinking. He clears his throat. We understand your concerns about the financial arrangements. My mother nods, her eyes darting to the stack of past due notices peeking from beneath a cookbook. Families should acknowledge each other's contributions. We haven't done that enough with you. The script sounds rehearsed. I watch their performance with new clarity, the way Dad's fingers drum nervously on the table, how Mom keeps glancing at the bills she's trying to hide. We have a compromise. Mom continues. If you resume the mortgage payments, we'll make sure everyone knows how much you help. Sierra too. Dad leans forward. Think about what you're risking, Amanda. Family relationships can't be repaired once they break. Is that what you want? Their words hang in the air between us, a final attempt to reclaim control. 2 months ago, I might have folded. 2 weeks ago, I might have negotiated. Today, I simply open my laptop. I've accepted a new position, I say, turning the screen toward them. Software architect at Meridian Tech in Seattle. I start next month. The color drains from my mother's face. Seattle? That's across the country. The salary is $135,000, I continue, pulling up a spreadsheet I've prepared. That's $33,000 more than I make now. Dad leans forward. That's wonderful, honey, but... And without supporting this household, I interrupt, highlighting a row on my budget. I'll save approximately $3,200 every month. My mother's lips press into a thin line. You can't just leave. I've been paying for the privilege of being disrespected, I say, my voice steady. That arrangement is over. Dad reaches for my hand, but I pull back. Amanda, be reasonable. I am being reasonable. For the first time in years. My phone buzzes with a text from Uncle Frank. Everyone's here, ready when you are. I need to go, I say, closing my laptop. Sierra's dinner starts in 30 minutes. My parents follow. The restaurant buzzes with conversation as I enter the private room. Uncle Frank reserved. Sierra sits at the head of the table in a cream-colored dress, surrounded by aunts, uncles, and cousins I haven't seen in months. My parents trail behind me, confusion evident on their faces. What is this about? My mother whispers harshly. I don't answer, making my way to Sierra. She looks up, her smile faltering when she sees my expression. Amanda? What's going on? I place a wrapped gift box in front of her. The silver paper catches the light from the chandelier above. I wanted to show you something, to all of you, I say loudly enough for everyone to hear. The room quiets. Open it. Sierra hesitates before carefully removing the wrapping paper. Inside lies a leather-bound portfolio containing every financial record, receipt, and bank statement from the past 2 years. Here's my gift to you, the truth about who's been supporting you. Sierra flips through the pages, her expression shifting from confusion to shock. It's all there, I say quietly. $61,000 over 2 years. Sierra looks up, her eyes filling with tears. She turns to our parents, who stand frozen near the doorway. How could you? My mother steps forward. Sierra, this isn't the place. No, Sierra snaps, holding up a page. We need to fix this at this moment. Uncle Frank stands. Your sister has been carrying this family while being treated like she's less successful than you. Aunt Patricia gasps. Martha, is this true? My mother's face reddens as murmurs spread through the room. My father stares at the floor. Sierra pushes back from the table and walks to me, still clutching the portfolio. Her voice drops to a whisper. I never knew you cared so much for me. A tear slides down her cheek. From now on, live for yourself. The room watches in stunned silence as Sierra confronts our parents, demanding answers I've sought for years. I feel something loosen in my chest, a knot of resentment and obligation beginning to unravel. Later that week, I hear through Uncle Frank that my parents are considering selling their house. Without my monthly contributions, they can't afford the mortgage. Part of me wonders if any relationship with them can be salvaged, or if I even want to try. I tape shut another moving box in my apartment, marking it kitchen with a black marker. Seattle awaits a new job, a new home, a new start. As I wrap glasses in newspaper, I find the photo album I'd tucked away years ago. Opening it reveals faded pictures of family vacations, holiday gatherings, birthday celebrations, smiling faces that look like strangers now. I close the album and place it in a box labeled Undecided. 6 months later, the morning light streams through my Seattle apartment windows, painting my small dining table in warm gold. I stare at the notification from my student loan app balance reduced by another $2,400 this month. No mortgage payments for my parents, no credit card bailouts for Sierra. Just my own financial freedom, one payment at a time. My laptop chimes with an incoming video call. Diane's familiar face fills the screen, her Atlanta kitchen visible behind her. "Look at you. Seattle suits you," she says, sipping coffee from her oversized mug. "You seem different." I straighten my shoulders. I closed 2 major projects this quarter. Team lead says I'm on track for promotion by December. "And no one taking credit for your work this time," Diane notes. I laugh, a real laugh that starts in my belly and rises without restraint. It's strange not having to downplay my success to avoid making someone else feel bad. Quote, "What about that hiking group you mentioned? We're planning a weekend trip to Mount Rainier next month." I hesitate, then add, "And I've been seeing someone. Nothing serious yet, but you're allowing the possibility." Diane's smile widens. That's the real victory. Later that evening, I slip into a sage green dress for my company's gathering dinner. As I adjust my simple gold necklace, I notice my reflection shoulders back, chin lifted, eyes clear. The woman who left Austin 6 months ago would have hunched slightly, making herself smaller. The banquet room buzzes with conversation when I arrive. My department head waves me over to a table near the front. "There she is," she announces to the group. Amanda's client satisfaction scores were the highest in the company this quarter. The Reynolds account specifically requested her for their next phase. A round of applause follows. My cheeks warm, but I don't deflect or diminish the praise. I simply say, "Thank you. I'm proud of the work we've done." When the woman beside me asks about family, the question doesn't twist my stomach into knots like it once would have. "My parents and I are taking some space," I say, calmly, butter knife steady in my hand. "My sister and I are finding our way to a more honest relationship." No shame colors my voice. No elaborate excuses fill the silence. Just truth, simply stated. "Sometimes family is complicated," she responds. "Yes, I agree. And sometimes it's exactly what it appears to be." The weekend brings Diane and Uncle Frank to Seattle. We gather in my small living room, takeout containers scattered across my coffee table. Uncle Frank raises his glass of Pinot Noir. "To Amanda," he says, "who taught me it's never too late to choose your real family." Diane chimes in, "To building the family you choose, not just accepting the one you were born into." We clink glasses as I absorb their words, feeling the truth of them settle into my bones. The following Tuesday, an unexpected email appears in my inbox. Sierra's name in the sender field makes my finger hover over the delete button, but curiosity wins. "I took over Mom and Dad's mortgage payments last month," she writes. "They weren't happy about it. Dad actually suggested I ask you to help out until I get established." I told him I've been established for years, just never financially independent. That's changing now. The email continues, detailing her struggles with budgeting and financial responsibility. "It's harder than I expected," she admits, "but also more satisfying. I think I understand now what you've been trying to tell me." I read the final paragraphs twice. "Mom and Dad want to visit you. I told them that's your decision, not mine. They don't quite understand why you won't. Let bygones be bygones. I'm starting to. I'd like to visit sometime if you're open to it, just me." My reply is short but genuine. "Not ready for Mom and Dad yet, but I'd love to show you Seattle in the spring next year." As I close my laptop that evening, I wonder about the fine line between forgiveness and self-protection. Sierra seems genuinely changed by confronting our family's patterns, but our parents remain unchanged. What would you do? Attempt to rebuild relationships with those who've proven unwilling to change, or focus on nurturing connections with those who respect your boundaries?